Good evening and everybody to another live stream. Happy Thursday. We're back with the live streams, back into a bit of a regular rhythm. It's good to be back. We've been back with the interviews, back with videos. It feels good to be back on the channel with you all. I've really appreciated catching up with everyone tonight. We've got an interesting episode. Debt ceilings. If you're not familiar with them, we'll get familiar with them tonight because there's a lot going on over in the US market side, including the fact that they might be running out of money by June the 1st, unable to pay their bills. I read a very interesting report from one analyst that stated potentially a 45% fall in the stock market if we were to see that. I was doing a little bit of research about the last time or the closest times they got to not being able to kind of reach an agreement for the debt ceiling. 2011 was the closest. They've never actually breached the debt ceiling previously, but in 2011, when it occurred, Standard & Poor's downgraded US debt, and the stock market, or I guess utilizing the Dow Jones fell by around 17% surrounding the crisis. So it's pretty significant. There's a lot to talk about. Welcome. Happy Thursday. Firstly, we'll do the stock standard discussions. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Turn your bell notifications on as well. We're on Instagram now. It's at ASX Investor IG. Pinned comment at the top. All of your daily stock market news is there. Post about NVIDIA this morning. We'll talk about NVIDIA tonight. One of the best earnings reports beats you'll see. 25% up after hours. A lot of it driven by AI chip demand. Jensen Huang doing great, fantastic stuff over at NVIDIA. But yeah, at ASX Investor IG, come say good day on the Instagram. We're also on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter. We're expanding out the reach and the breadth of the social media platforms now. So TikTok is ASX Investor TikTok. LinkedIn, just ASX Investor. What was the last one? Twitter, at ASX Invest, I think. But yeah, Instagram's the main one where we're posting it all. Stock standard discussion. If you haven't seen any of our other interviews over the past couple of days, we did an interview with the CEO of BrainChip, Sean Hare, first in-person interview. I think it was a really illuminating discussion about the story. We also interviewed the COO, Global Chief Operating Officer, and co-founder of Zipco. That was on Monday. Maybe it was Tuesday. It's been a range of CEO interviews. There's been plenty of different streams. We're doing daily reels or just about daily reels over on the Instagram. So lots of content. That's the intro. One more thing I forgot. I'm just a bloke on the internet who likes talking about the markets. I'm obviously not a financial advisor. Nothing we talk about is financial advice. It's just a general discussion as a starting spot, hopefully, for you to do your own research from. We'll be back with weekly live streams on Thursday nights. Next Thursday, I'm going to be in Sydney for some work for We Are Mobilised. So it won't be next Thursday, but we'll be back the week after. But yeah, back to Thursday live streams, which is good. I'm loving it. I hope you guys have been enjoying the content. Getting the in-person interviews. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Deco. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was an interesting one. You know, obviously we've done a bit of work for Mobilize previously with the videos and things like that, but we've never shot a CEO interview for the channel. So getting the actual setup was half the fun. But I think it turned out all right. Let us know if you got any feedback on it. DUG on the move. I've been seeing it pop up on some of the scanners and things like that. I think it was on most mentioned potentially. What's the story there, Deco? Give us the overview. I swear you mentioned it on the last live stream as well from memory. Teddy, good to have the live streams back. It's good to be back, mate. I hope you're going well. Happy Thursday. Chris, huge congrats on BrainChip CEO. Mate, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I've observed the interview craft for many years now, one of the best on record. Look so excited to be there. Yeah, I really appreciate the kind feedback. I am so stoked with every interview because, like, for me, I view it as just the opportunity to learn about a new sector, new ideas. Obviously, at Mobilize and with everything we're building there on the entrepreneurial side, get ideas about governance, development of companies, just little nuances there. So I love the chance to learn, and the fact that I also know that we're going to be able to kind of learn and grow and share it out to the community. It's like just such a win-win-win. So I have a lot of fun doing them. I'm glad it came across. I'm glad it does come across. And yeah, plenty more to come there. Thank you. And for those who've been following the channel, I know there was a few people who were messaging me on Instagram last night just saying like, hey, I remember the first videos that you did, in 2020 on the whiteboard. And that was like talking about different companies. And then the fact that, we're finally getting an in-person interview and the development. Just a huge thank you to you guys. You know who you are. You guys know, I remember some of those first live streams. We had the 5,000 and 10,000 subscriber special where we live streamed for 5 hours and then 10 hours straight. I literally got KFC delivered and ate KFC on stream with you all. So yeah, just a big thank you guys for you all who've been kind of watching the journey and looking forward to continuing it on together. There's a lot more to go. I'm having a lot of fun. We've talked about it before, talking about the entrepreneurial things. We do a lot more of that kind of on the Instagram and the TikTok, but being able to talk about like a range of different things. Still loving the companies too. There's plenty to go. About time. Evening. How you going, mate? Is printing money solving the debt issue? We can talk about the debt issue. So essentially what the debt ceiling is, it's the government's ability, I guess it's a legislated level about the government's ability of how much debt they can borrow. Of how much they're able to borrow to pay down their debts. So obviously there's a significant debt burden. I think it's $30 trillion and change. Obviously it's not change. It's a fairly significant amount of change, but it's $30 trillion plus. And this is the level that they're allowed to borrow to actually be able to cover the repayments in terms of the interest and things like that. And so they will need to be able to have that lifted. Otherwise, they're going to continue to struggle there. And in terms of printing money, that becomes essentially a zero-sum game because it just becomes inflationary rapidly. So they need a solution here. They're working towards it. I think June 1st is that. So maybe that's going to be Wednesday, is it? Is it going to be Thursday next week? Something like that. Janet Yellen said it'd be July the 1st. We'll have to see if we get there. As we mentioned at the top of the stream, they've never breached the debt ceiling before. 2011 was the closest. It would probably be fairly catastrophic for a range of different markets. I think if you look at consensus, it looks like the bond market is going to have the hit worse than the stock market if it does happen. But yeah, I don't think anyone would be viewing any of it positively if it does go down. Alrighty, pulled a tent pole out today. What did you pull out? Why'd you pull that out? Very, very interesting. Hope you enjoyed it though. Evenings, buddy. How you going? PNV and ARX competitor in US at a major product recall. Interesting. I'm not familiar with ARX, but I know Polynovo. I'm assuming they play in a similar type of space in the burn space, do they? And what was the product recall about? Did PNV and ARX soar on the back of it? 7% day for PNV in a pretty downwards trending market. Today wasn't a great day on the market, was it? Neither was yesterday. I think these debt ceiling jitters are starting to pick up pace. Obviously, we've still got a bit of time to go, but we're at an impasse. Friday was when they were really hoping to get a resolution. Not a lot going on there. The Republicans are pushing for spending cuts. We'll see where we land. Neil, g'day. How you going, mate? How are you going? Hit the nail on the head there. Yes, they never have defaulted. And I think it's also worth noting, building on what Neil's saying here, there has been a significant increase in spending, particularly over the past decade. Something along the lines of close to a tripling of spending since 2009 out of the GFC. So this is why it becomes more and more kind of important, because the debt levels are just absolutely significantly higher than they've ever been and continuing to rise as well. Peter, how you going? Like the BRN interview, good editing, camera use. What's the watch did you have? It's actually not a name brand watch. I got it from one of the jewelers for my 21st birthday. It's actually not a name brand one, but it's a really, really nice one. Yeah, I'll have to have a look at it. Next live stream, remind me, mate. I'll have to have a look at it. I got it just from a jeweler, but no, I'm glad you appreciate it. Thank you. Have you been headhunted? No, so I'm working at We Are Mobilized. We can talk about it because I really enjoy talking about it. This is We Are, and then we'll pull up, remind me what we're looking at after this. NVIDIA, that is the next one that we're going to be looking at. So We Are Mobilized is the company that I founded. So it's an ACNC registered not-for-profit charity. And essentially last year we had a big fundraiser which catalyzed a new chapter in our story. And so I've gone into working full-time for Mobilized just over the past 4 to 6 weeks, which has been a really, really exciting change. It's not even going to start loading for us, is it? All right. It was meant to start loading here. There you go. But that's the website. It's We Are Mobilized. Oh, there we go. So that's a bit about kind of the overview of what we do there. But yeah, so I'm working full-time for Mobilized now, which is why we had a bit of a break-ish kind of on the channel. But yeah, it's been a real pleasure seeing kind of the impact that we're able to make. This fundraiser really changed the trajectory of our company. It was a step change, or our charity. It was a step change in terms of awareness, obviously funds, and just the scale and breadth of what we envisage doing. And so we're in a really exciting time now, and that's kind of where I'm spending the bulk of my time. So I stepped into the CEO role, I think it was 6 weeks ago now. And yeah, we've got the most incredible team, super passionate, super enthusiastic, real like-minded. And I think we've got a great opportunity to make an impact with all of the other charities in the space, of which there are a lot. The whiteboard message. Love it. I appreciate that, mate. There was actually 2 of them, but I know which one. I know which one was yours, mate. So thank you. Funny how USD goes up when I haven't actually been tracking USD AUD. So it's worth noting what Spot is mentioning here is that there's growthier currencies. Obviously, talking about the ASX, the AUD is a growthier currency, or I guess you could term it more as a risk-on currency. So in times of market exuberance, you see that. And then the USD is more of a safe haven currency. And so that's what Spot is referencing here in terms of the trajectory. DUG offers high performance computing. AI hype could be dripping over as these are dripping over like a waterfall mate and just plummeting straight down. It's that's what we need to look at. Nvidia's earnings. It's been AI hype's been wild these past period. LLMs, if you're not familiar with what Deco is referencing here, that's large language models. So it's powering the beasts such as ChatGPT, Google Bard. If you guys haven't used Google Bard yet, I'd love to know your thoughts. ChatGPT is obviously really, really fascinating. People love it. And it's got kind of that name recognition because it was the first up. Google Bard's decent. And I guess it's decent for now. You can see how good it's going to be in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. Obviously, Google have had to rush it to be able to catch up. Also, Microsoft's share price has been absolutely wild this year. Nvidia's attracted a lot of attention, but Microsoft's been soaring. So is Apple. But yeah, large language models have been getting a lot of eyeballs on them. DISP, give us a refresher, a defense industry security program. I see. Assuming that will just allow them to be able to kind of feed into government contracts and things like that. Different types of, probably a different level of contracts that they're able to feed into as well, and consistency. Give us the overview. If so, good volume the last few days. I'll have a read, mate. That's DUG. Cheers. What we're going to look at? We're going to look at Nvidia. That's right. Have a look at Nvidia. If you're not familiar with Nvidia, I reckon they're the top performer, not in terms of like percentage rise. Actually, they're probably not far off it. I was reading another really interesting fact. This was probably earlier on this week, not far off, probably close to this week. Maybe it was at the back end of last week. Nvidia's 27% pre-market. And you're like, okay, so when you look at that, you're like, wow, 27% pre-market. That's huge. I wonder how big they are. Do not forget, this is a company nearly at $1 trillion market cap. This is not a small cap with like $1 billion of cap. This is absolutely wild. Also, for those joining us, welcome. We're here just talking about all things on the stock market, macroeconomic picture as well. If you're new here and you haven't, make sure you subscribe, turn your bell notifications on. I'm on Instagram. Come and say g'day. That's where we do all of our reels, short form content, daily market updates. Started doing a couple of memes as well. I don't know if you guys have enjoyed them. Let us know if we should continue on with those. It's at ASX Investor IG. Come and say g'day. But for now, actually, we can get a better screen than that. For now, we can have a look at Nvidia. So what are we looking at here? Essentially, as we talked about, 27% up pre-market overnight, $750 billion before that. But if you start zooming out, this is where the magic happens. 5 days, not that interesting. 16% over the past month. You're like, okay, fair enough. We know where the S&P 500 is. It's okay, outperformance. But then you look at the 6 monthly start to the year. In a year, essentially markets have been flatlining. Like, Apple and Microsoft have helped drag index levels a little bit, but that's crazy. Then you go out to the year to date in the 5 monthly, because that first month essentially they came in and dropped a little bit. We're talking 110% plus just at this stage before the open, which is crazy. And just to compare that to the S&P 500 as a bit of a context. There we go. That's the one. Look at that over the 6 monthly. You're up 2%. Essentially, the kangaroo market. If you guys haven't heard that phrase, there's bear markets. Obviously, we know what those are. Bull markets, we know what those are. Kangaroo markets are markets that go up and down. I think they, it's always funny when they coin that, especially for Oz investors. So S&P 500 here, year to date, we're up, 7%. And then you see Nvidia absolutely soaring. And the after hours earnings was, this is CNBC. I guess that'll do anyway. They still have the headline there. Beat driven by AI chip demand, surging demand for its data center products. Really interesting quote from Jensen Huang, and I actually just posted a reel about it just previously, essentially talking about the fact that this has been one of the biggest step changes in computing that we've seen through generative AI, and obviously NVIDIA has been a big winner on the back of it. So NVIDIA reported first quarter earnings for fiscal 2024 with a stronger than expected forecast that drove shares up. EPS big beat. Well over 10%, getting closer to 20% there on earnings per share. Revenue, this is where the real, I guess, eye-watering numbers came through. They're absolutely soaring on revenue. And you've got to realize, from reflection, I'm fairly sure NVIDIA already would have had a top-line forecast upgrade, or at least analysts were feeling very optimistic about what they were going to do anyway. And then you see that rise. And then here you go. So you look at the quarter there, $7.19 billion. Like, okay, that's massive, especially considering consensus was 6.5. But then this is absolutely where it was starting to get crazy. They said that they were expecting sales of $11 billion with a fairly close confidence interval as well, plus or minus 2% there in this current quarter. And Wall Street's estimates were basically in line with what they posted for this quarter. And then they said, we're going to go to 11 billion, which is where you get your 25% upgrade for the share price. And so, yeah, there's just a bit more commentary here around that. But this really talks, NVIDIA's been the poster child for, I guess, the AI hype and enthusiasm. Obviously, it's difficult to separate it during these times of like, what is hype and exuberance and enthusiasm, and people just being like, ChatGPT, AI, oh, like what's somewhere that's going to be emblematic of kind of the trajectory of the space, or what's actually legitimate. And I mean, the sales here speak for themselves, but it's just fascinating seeing kind of, everything has been playing out in the NVIDIA story. There's that. That's the NVIDIA discussion. Where do we get up to for questions? So I mean, I haven't seen the breakdown, but it's kind of all government spending. So total debt is 30 trillion and change. You'd have to see the breakdown of it, but yeah, it's all kind of government spending. Any thoughts about Vulcan? Interesting one. I saw they raised capital at, was it $5? It might have been $6. Anyway, they did raise capital not too long ago. And I saw today their share price was at $3.90, fell down the $4 mark. Like the share price looks pretty, I mean, we can have a look at it here. Downwards trajectory and fairly stark as well. So you look at that. I mean, what gives you a clearer overview? That was, I'm guessing that was a cap raise in there. Oh no, actually maybe the capital raise was in March. Can't remember. Anyway, they've raised capital over the past 3 or so months. But then if you look at the downwards trajectory there, it's crazy. I know they have extended their timelines. CapEx is obviously significant as well. It's an expensive project on the CapEx front to get it up and running, but very low OpEx once it is up and running from memory, like really, really low OpEx. And so essentially, I think kind of there was a lot of thoughts here about the length to get the project online. I think it's been extended to, I was reading some of the numbers today, extended to something like end 2025. And at some stage, I were hoping to come online in 2024. I mean, on the tail, that's the headwinds. On the tailwind side, you've obviously got the European Union implementing their critical minerals strategy. You've got the big focus on that front. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. How's the Victor going to go for you guys in the next few years? Roads are really good. People having a lot of infrastructure going up, or a lot of discussions about the infrastructure there as well. Might have people might have wanted you to guess Europe on the back burner for now. Yeah, that's why we came back. So Ned's record run was last year in November. Came back for the fundraiser, and now we're back. Now we're here, at least for the next few years. So yeah, lots of changes. Just got home from hitting spikes at beach volleyball, mate. Rising up and hitting them down. Nice. I haven't played beach volleyball for a long time. So I lived in the Netherlands in 2018 for 6 months. Some of the best months of my life. Absolutely just had the most incredible time. But we had these it was on student res, and we had these like this big open area. And Netherlands is like freezing, obviously, because it's very, very cold. So like during the winter, it was going down to like -3 degrees, -4 degrees. Everyone was like a hermit. And then it got to summer, and there was just like 2 wonderful months of summer where we were just playing like 15 on 15 volleyball there. It wasn't on the beach, obviously in the Netherlands, but that was kind of the memories that I have. I've got very fond memories of playing volleyball there. All came in live with their merger. Yeah, actually, I need to do a reel on that. Thanks for the reminder, mate. Maybe on Saturday or Sunday, you might see a reel on Instagram with that, because I have that in the content schedule. But yeah, it's a huge one. Top 5 producer. I mean, what a story for Allchem, you know, going from 3-4 years ago. I can't remember when the merger was with Galaxy and Orocobre, and now into a, you know, massive, they already are massive, but into an even bigger, more massive player. Big story. Where do you play beach volleyball? Do you play it on the beach, or is it indoor, like synthetic sand courts? I don't know. I'm not familiar with it, but awesome, mate. Awesome. Anyone else play some sport tonight? Anyone else get up to anything interesting like Tom? Up, down, turn, turn the beat around town. We'll see what's next for lithium. Hey, it's been up and down. There have been a few plays that have been going fairly nicely under the hood. What's one that stood out over the past period? LLL, Leo Lithium, really solid past few months. Had some good drilling results as well. I think it was just at the start of the week or something like that. So yeah, Leo Lithium's had a good past period. If you look like that, that's just on the past month, 49% up. They're like below 50 cents not too long ago. And then they're up there. What's another one? Ladder Resources has been holding. I can't remember when their uplift was, if it was recent or yeah. So kind of over the past month or so as well, Ladder Resources. So there have been some players under the hood that have been going well. But at an index level, or not an index level, but at a sector level, there has been kind of some churning going on as well. Not a small cap. Well, obviously, when we're talking about US companies and scale, everything's relative. Everything's relative. But yeah, I mean, Nvidia is obviously not a small cap, no matter which way you cut it. Let's get it. How you going? How are you, mate? Welcome. Second generation battery future. What do you mean by this? Can you elaborate on this or news? I haven't read that. No, let us know. And what do you mean by second generation battery future as well, mate? Give us kind of the overview on it. Top 5 lithium company there. But there's a lot of interesting lithium companies. It really depends on. We've talked about this a lot on the channel. It depends on time frames. What do you prefer? Do you like brines? Do you like hard rock projects? Where do you like it? How far out the geographical risk curve do you go? Do you need something in like a tier 1 location? Do you want like DLE projects? What's your time horizon? Do you like producers, explorers? There's so many different factors. There's a lot of different companies out there as well. Good evening. Don't worry about that. Silly negotiations fails. They always do partial deal. That's the thing. Yeah, they always just seem to find a result, don't they, Francisco? But hey, I mean, we're living in interesting times. But you are correct that they normally do end up finding a result. We've had a few people join us recently, guys. If you're new and you haven't yet, make sure you've subscribed. Hit the like button. Helps get the video out to a wider audience. Say good day if you're just tuning in and you haven't popped up into the comments. We're on Instagram at ASX Investor IG. Come say good day. We're on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter as well. They're the main ones, but ASX Investor IG on the Instagram is the primary one there. Come say good day. Hit subscribe and pop up in the comments. They don't raise the ceiling because yeah, I mean, like, you look at everything that's happened over the past 6 months. Like if you had have gone at the start of this year and said you're going to have like some significant macroeconomic headwinds that are going to be big buffers for the market. And obviously we're talking about the regional banks and the smaller banks and Silicon Valley Bank and all of that. And you're going to be coming off the back of FTX and still because you're going to be probably in a better position than you would have started the year. Most people would be like, well, how? But it's almost seemed like a pretty fascinating position for Bitcoin, either result here, as you mentioned, Andre. So fascinating time. It's a fascinating time. Walk the dog. Nice. What type of dog do you have there, Peter? LRS going well. BLD have done all right over the last 9 months. Nice, David. BLD there. Boral. What's kind of the general story with Boral? What's their strongest products over this past period? Really nice uplift. 32% over a period, similar to what we talked about at the S&P 500 level, where things have been relatively flatline on the ASX level. So yeah, what's been going on in that story? Waiting for AZS lithium drill results. SQM putting any money? Any other Oz lithium explorers? Haven't heard about SQM, but I tell you what I am hearing a lot about. Big players wanting to get their hands on critical minerals projects more broadly. Not only lithium, but lithium obviously. But you're starting to see it churn up. And everyone's been talking about it, right, for the past like 2-3 years. But we're actually starting to see it now, which is fascinating. I'm interested to see the M&A activity. I mean, you look at something like a Liontown was an example of kind of how rapidly things can get moving if they get moving. Really, really a lot going on. DYL, I mean, the uranium space has been relatively quiet over this past period. No real major negatives, no really significant catalysts either. It's kind of just churning through. So we'll see what happens over the next, I guess, upcoming period. I hope there's going to be a energy price increase again. Needing solutions at that energy grid level. HUO, hey, thank you. Thank you. That's the first HUO we've done in like 30 minutes or something. So cheers for the hydration there. Think about PLS. Yeah, I mean, Pilbara has been the bellwether at an ASX listed level for lithium companies. In Australia, they're going into the midstream, going into the downstream. Nice JV there for a lithium hydroxide facility there with POSCO. Huge spodumene production already, but they're ramping up to 1 million tons. They've led the way for the lithium companies on the ASX, and they're setting themselves up so that it's not going to be a 6-month, a 2-year, a 5-year project. They want to set themselves up as a leading name for years and decades to come. New York Times article talking about Australian lithium processing plants, mentioned the third one coming online. Chanchi and Albemarle have the two operational. Both of those the Kwinana ones. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. Does Neil, anyone got an answer for Neil? It wouldn't be talking about any of the ASX listed companies with longer term aspirations. Is it? Is this talking about kind of nearish term, I'm assuming? Because I know a lot of these companies have talked about long-term aspirations. When we're talking long-term, we're talking like 2, 3, 4 years. So more medium term. But yeah, if anyone's got an answer for Neil, chuck it in. Doberman, nice. CXO in the buy zone. What was CXO's last announcement, Tim? I actually haven't kept up with them over the past couple of weeks. What was kind of the last thing that popped up? BTC going down, Coinbase, insights of US Go. Binance, one of the same stories. JX, Tether, money laundering, Tether, fuel for BTC price. I think the Bitcoin space right now it's not just Bitcoin, crypto space more broadly, which is obviously what you're referencing here, Deco, just has such relatively strong cases on both sides of the coin. I think there was a period about 3-6 months ago where people were in the wait and see. And I mean, we're still waiting to see now because of the strong magnetic pull of each side. But in the past, it was just like treading water and there wasn't a lot going on in like the past 3 to 6 months, particularly after the big crash from 60K BTC. But now there is actually strong arguments on both sides, which will be fascinating. We're kind of in that flux zone. So we'll see where things head from that. BOE had big gains. Deco, were you in BOE? Someone was in BOE. I can't remember it. Zero still inching up. I think last stream they were 109. Where are they now? 111. Nice little tick up there, continuing to go. I mean, they beat on the top line by a lot, so that's what analysts like to see. Lone Brot, Hoover House. I haven't actually looked too much into the story. Did you want to give us the TLDR, mate, and just give us the give us a quick overview of it? Not too familiar. Renasco dragging the ball and chain. Yeah, I think there has been a little element of them going just a little bit longer for their deadlines than anticipated. There hasn't been anything that they've put to the market that's been, I guess, surprising or concerning in terms of not being able to complete the deadlines, but just stretching out timelines a little bit. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Far away from supply chain compared to synthetic scalability, close to battery production and car manufacturers. Yeah, I mean, we don't really have much of a manufacturing industry here in Oz either. So, yeah, I've always wondered kind of how that's going to go with electric vehicles. Like, is Tesla going to place that factory here? Will they? Won't they? I don't know. Asia's not that far away from it. Demand's not that high to make it worth it. So, yeah. Hey, BJS. Hey, how you guys going? Welcome. Evening, curious, what do you think some of the effects will be if they decide to rise their debt ceiling again? I mean, my take on it, and keen to hear everyone else's take, is that it'll essentially be mostly business as usual. Maybe we get a small intraday jump on it when it happens, a bit of positivity, but most people are expecting, and even if you read the comments in the stream, most people are expecting that is going to happen as a base case. So generally the base case is relatively priced in. Sure, there might be a bit of, enthusiasm and a green uplift for that. But I think what's really, really, really concerning is if they don't, because that's really, I guess, the non-base case. And that's when things start to get scary, because that's not in people's projections. That's not in people's kind of thoughts about where we're going to head. So, I mean, if they rise it positive, that's obviously not a negative, but it's kind of anticipated. The other side of the coin is where we start getting a bit kind of curly there. Any light for Cobalt? Look, it's done. See what happens to... Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with Javois day to day, so I'm not sure if it is an operational kind of thing or if it's the actual sector itself. But I saw their share price about 2 months ago. Geez, when I saw their share price last, it was about 25, 30 cents, but now it's down under a 10-cent mark. What's happened there kind of that's driven that, Shamal? Deco and the BOE. Yeah, I thought I remembered it, but I wasn't 100% sure. Nice. Take on Vulcan. We actually talked about Vulcan like 10 minutes ago, Amit, like 10, 15 minutes ago. It did a bit of a kind of chat about it. So scroll back up and you'll be able to see that. Talk. Hey, how you going? Welcome. Shamal, same. We actually talked about it there. So yeah, the raised capital, obviously below the $4 mark. It's been surprising. They've obviously got the backing of Stellantis and the tailwinds of the European Union. Longer lead time to get into production than probably anticipated. And we know that the market's preferring producers or near-term producers. So yeah, we'll have to see how things go. Prediction. I can't really discuss that. Not too sure on that. Genesis and St. Barbara plan to combine to create a gold powerhouse in WA. M&A plans fell through. Fascinating. Just couldn't get the deal over the line, or what was the hold up there? Nasdaq futures are ignoring the debt ceiling tonight. I think it's mostly Nvidia, mate. We talked about Nvidia before. Have a look at this. Where are we looking? So Nvidia's weighting is large and growing larger now. 755 billion, nearly $1 trillion in market cap, and they're 27% up. So Nvidia is dragging the Nasdaq higher. And I mean, let's have a look at what Apple and stuff like that are doing pre-market. Yeah, so Apple's flatlining. Obviously, Apple's one of the largest weightings there. So if there's no major moves to the downside, Microsoft up 2% as well. So yeah, there we go. That's kind of that's enough of an insight there about kind of why things are moving. Care and Maintenance, why'd they do that? I'm gonna have a read into Java actually, because we had an interview with them. I'd love to read into that. Joe, evening. Enjoyed the interview with Yoko from Argosy. Nice, yeah. Moving into production, an exciting time for any company in the space, but yeah, they're very, very close, which is going to be fascinating. Alrighty, guys, make sure you've subscribed, turn your bell notifications on. We just did an interview with the CEO of BrainShip, Sean Hare, last night on the channel. Check it out after this if you haven't seen it. It's probably one of my favorite interviews that we've done, especially because it was the first in-person one. And I think we really captured the story well there. So you can check that out. I'm on Instagram at ASX Investor RG. Come say good day. Make sure you follow. You'll get your daily stock market news and stories there. There's another Zipco interview where we talked about BMPR regulation. Lots of videos. Next Thursday, no live stream because I'll be in Sydney for Mobilize. The week after, we'll be back. Thursday live streams, 8 p.m. every single week. I'm looking forward to it. Plenty more CEO interviews. Check them out after this. Come say good day on Instagram. For now, guys, stay well. Hopefully the next time we catch up, they have raised the debt ceiling. Otherwise, we'll have a lot more to talk about. It's going to be an interesting night. Nvidia. I'll be keeping my eye on that to see how it goes. Come say good day on Instagram. For now, guys, have a fantastic night. Enjoy the rest of the week. Stay well and happy investing.